I am Amy Ann Richardson, and I'm on my farm in Carter County, Kentucky. I'm primarily a writer and artist. I have been a teacher off and on at Morehead State University and Shawnee State University across the years as well. I teach English classes, mostly composition 1 and 2 or writing 1 and 2, depending on where I'm at. I think for me, a farmer is anyone who is growing food to feed their family and or their community. And that can be a wide range of, it can be their super local community, their neighbors, people they're sharing stuff they've grown with, or it can be the farmer's market, or it can be wholesaling to the grocery store. I mean, I think there's a lot of different levels of, how you're farming, but I think anyone who's taking care of land, anyone who is working to be good stewards and to feed the people that they love. That's a farmer. When we were first in quarantine, we didn't leave our farm for 8 weeks. Not at all, not for anything. We did not leave this land for 8 weeks because we had everything that we needed here. Yeah, we put up stuff for winter. We make tomato sauce and we can beans and things, and we freeze a lot. We freeze corn and we'll make pickled corn, and we have a dehydrator, so we'll dehydrate tomatoes and mushrooms and stuff like that. And those will last a really long time if you dehydrate it and vacuum seal it, or use the vacuum sealer to do the jars, like we do that too. So we try to do them as much as we can that way. And of course, I'm not growing any jalapeno Cheetos out here, so I definitely still getting some junk food sometimes. But it really hit home during the COVID quarantine. I can walk outside my door and I have a forest, I have land, I have access to all this space. And I was watching, the news where people were trapped in their apartment buildings and they were unable to go out and do anything else. Like, kids, we can open our door and walk into the forest, like right here. And that's one thing, we have here. We have access to place, to nature, to outdoors. Even if you don't own a lot of land, we have a lot of state forests. We have a lot of state parks that are gorgeous. People have access to green space that you don't have, not just in cities, but in a lot of other places out in the country. Like, they don't have access to the woods like we do here, and even if they do, they don't look like these. And that's it. Like, I need this. I need those hills and these trees and access to that space to feel, I guess, settled or comfortable, or to have any kind of mental health at all. It's this landscape that I feel most connected to and most settled when I'm present in. One thing that I didn't have when I was growing up was a group of other people my age who were interested in writing, or who wanted to produce writing or learn how to be in a community of writers, or how do you even do that? What's that look like? And it took me most of my life to figure that out. And then Melissa Helton started Ironwood Writer Studio down at Hindman Settlement School, which is modeled after the Appalachian Writers Workshop, which will be in its 50th year next year. And I really love what that has done for the young folks. And I was like, we need more of that. They need more connection with each other. They need more access to each other. And so I wanted to make that space for young writers in my area, and we're trying to get them connected with the Ironwood Studio, with students in Lexington and some of those programs as well, so that they can build a network across the state while they're young, and they can understand what community looks like and how it works and how to advocate for their arts and how to organize in their community to make those things happen. And so that's kept me pretty busy.
Yeah.
And I have started a Young Writers Collective in Morehead that meets at the Round County Arts Center and is funded by the James Baker Hall Foundation, called Bloodroot Writers Collective. And it's all 12 to 17-year-olds who are interested in creative writing. I'm a co-founder of the Appalachian Literary Arts Festival in Morehead, Kentucky. Our inaugural event will be this coming August, and so it'll be a big celebration of Appalachian literature. We'll have a 3-day event with readings and performances and open mics and generative workshops and a book fair, and all the businesses downtown are participating. It's really, hopefully, going to be a wonderful event. I'm very excited about it. I have a couple books, and I've gone around and done readings and book tours and things with those as well. And I'm primarily a poet when I publish, but I do publish nonfiction essays as well. And then I've been the editor on a project that's currently in peer review at University Press of Kentucky that's an anthology of mountain women farmers that I'm so excited about, and I can't wait until I have a release date to tell everyone for that project.
So if you're doing so much with the arts and you're seems like you travel a lot, you're on the road a lot, right?
I am.
Yeah. So why live here?
Well,
Why don't go somewhere more convenient?
this place, oh gosh, I can't imagine being any other place. I did leave Kentucky for 5 years. I grew up in Moorhead, and I met my husband Channing, and we moved out to Oklahoma from 2009 to 2014. So both of our kids were born out there. Because I had that whole Appalachian childhood, the whole trope where I grew up and thought I had to leave to be successful. And once I left, I realized that that's not what I wanted at all, that the problems that exist here exist in other places too. They just look different. They're in a different container. It's a different context. And the things that I love about here don't exist in those other places. And so the idea of our kids having this connection to a place where generations of their people had lived just was amazing to me. There were so many things that I don't know. I wanted them to have those connections of stories, those layers of what it means to be of a place and not just from a place, but to have ties to that land that define who you are, that shape who you are. And then you also in turn shape that place with what you choose to do there. And Channing and I had talked for a long time about wanting to come back home and make it a place where other young folks felt like they could stay and didn't have to leave, because that was something we were both told, oh, to be successful you need to leave. But we don't want young people to feel that way. So that's another reason that I try to do a lot of the work that I'm doing, and not just on the farm, but yes, with the farm, because feeding yourself, knowing where your food comes from, being able to grow your own food, those are really important, and being able to stay in your place. And those are skills that generations like our age and younger have lost a lot of. But also the storytelling and the importance of telling your own story. And that's why I do the work in the arts, is because I want young folks here, and not just young folks, all folks really. But I think if you get the idea that your voice and your story matters when you're young, it's easier to appreciate that when you're older, and it's harder to come back to that. When you're my age and someone has disempowered you to tell your own story, it's a lot harder for you to claw your way back. And I want to give young folks that before they get to that point, or to help them recognize the power in being able to tell their own stories. And I'd like all folks to know that. And that's why I think like the Women Farmers Anthology, having people who are willing to be vulnerable enough to say, this is who I am, this is where I'm from, and that connection. And I know this is way off of the topic of why here, but this is it. It's this connection to place and the community, and the people here, despite what the media at large wants to say about our stories, are not what we see on the news. People here are here for their neighbors a lot of the times. Like, despite what we may be politically, it doesn't matter. If you're in a flood with each other, you're caring for each other. If you're hit with some natural disaster like an ice storm, you're hauling wood for each other. You're not asking who you voted for. You're stepping up, and you're doing those things. And I think that those parts of our narrative get left out a lot on the news, and it is difficult. I'm not gonna gloss over that and say, oh, it's all wonderful and beautiful. It's not. There's really hard parts about choosing to live here. But I think there's hard parts about choosing to live anywhere. And these are the hard parts that I'm willing to deal with because of how much I love my people, my communities, and not just people communities, but the communities in the woods, the animals, the trees, like all the things like we don't think of as a community, but they are. They're ecological communities, and they're impacting like our place, and they're impacting, how we can live. We need them just as much as we think they need us. They don't need us. But I do think there's so many things that are beautiful here that make all those hard parts worth it to me. And so many things that I want my children to know, about the forest and the woods and the farm and the place that we call our home and that we choose to be. Because I think that's it too, is there are people who've been here for generations. There are people who have came to Appalachia and made it their home, but it's a choice. And I don't know, I'm sorry if that didn't answer your question. I completely went off on a tangent.